Okay, so picture this. You're staring at this pile of cables, right? Trying to get your trusty old VCR, maybe that classic game console you love, or even like a legacy projector for work, to actually talk to your shiny new TV or monitor.
Mm, that feeling. It's a it's a classic tech headache, isn't it?
Totally. The gear still works fine, but it speaks a completely different, like, input language than the new stuff.
And then you go hunting for adapters.
Oh, yeah, the endless adapter hunt. You end up with this, like, spaghetti monster of
And
wires.
then nothing. That crushing moment of it just won't work.
Right. It's almost enough to make you want to give up on tech altogether sometimes.
Well, what if there was like a universal interpreter, a single device to bridge those tech generations?
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today. The WolfPack Universal Audio and Video and Resolution Converter.
Hmm.
This thing isn't just, another adapter. It's positioned as this single, pretty powerful box designed to fix those exact connection nightmares.
Right, a potential hero device.
Yeah. So our mission today is to really unpack what this converter is, how it tackles those, let's face it, really common and annoying connectivity problems you probably know well.
And we want to look at its actual capabilities, right? Like what it can really do.
Exactly. We're digging into the details from its product description on HDTV Supply's website, kind of treating that as our main source.
Okay.
We want to figure out not just what it does technically, but why it's actually a useful tool, whether you're, trying to digitize home movies or you're a pro juggling AV gear.
Makes sense. Understanding the why is key.
So yeah, let's try and demystify this whole media setup mess and see what this universal translation is all about.
Okay, so what's really interesting here, I think, what makes this WolfPack converter more than just another gadget
Yeah.
is that core idea being a genuine universal translator for like your whole AV setup.
Right, because most of us have that drawer,
Yeah.
full of single-purpose adapters.
Oh, yeah. The adapter graveyard. HDMI to VGA here, component to HDMI there.
Exactly. But this device, it's specifically built to handle conversions between analog and digital, or, digital back to analog, all in one box.
And that's a big deal. It's not just convenient. It fundamentally changes how you might approach connecting things. It's trying to be that one elegant solution instead of needing like 5 different boxes.
Which just adds clutter and complexity, right?
Totally. It simplifies things.
So that scenario you mentioned, having a mix of old and new stuff, that's super common. Like maybe you do have that old VCR you want to connect to your smart TV.
Or a classic Nintendo 64, maybe a PS2 putting out component video.
Yeah. And your new monitor only takes HDMI.
Or in a more professional setting,
Yeah.
maybe some older medical gear or broadcast equipment that has a very specific analog output.
And you need it to work with a brand new digital display or maybe a capture card.
Right. This converter steps in not just as a connector, but almost like a negotiator between those different tech eras.
A negotiator. I like that.
Yeah, and if you look at the actual connections it supports, both inputs and outputs, the range is, honestly, pretty impressive for one unit.
Okay, so what are we talking about specifically?
Well, you've got the main ones covered, HDMI, obviously, for modern digital stuff,
Uh-huh.
DVI, which is actually really flexible, VGA for lots of older computer monitors and projectors.
Still see VGA around sometime.
Oh, yeah. Then component video, that's the YPBPR, usually red, green, blue cables. It's analog, but splits the signal for a better picture than composite.
Right, better than the old single yellow cable.
Exactly. That yellow one is composite video, or CVBS, usually with the red and white audio cables. It handles that too.
Okay.
And importantly, it also has separate 3.5 millimeter audio jacks for embedding audio onto a video signal or de-embedding it, pulling the audio out.
So you can manage audio separately if needed?
Precisely. So it's not just a partial fix, it's aiming to be a central connection hub.
That DVI port you mentioned, that seems like a particularly smart move. Why DVI specifically?
Well, DVI is clever because it can carry both digital signals, like DVI-D, and analog signals, like DVI-A, within the same connector.
Ah, okay, so it's versatile.
Super versatile. What it means practically is you can use simpler passive adapters to plug into that DVI port to connect to things like VGA or component, or even composite or HDMI, using basic adapter cables or plugs.
So you don't necessarily need complex powered adapters for every single conversion type.
Exactly. It simplifies the whole adapter mess you might need otherwise. Instead of buying a specific, maybe expensive active converter box for every single directional to new to old, this one box becomes the central adaptable point.
That makes a lot of sense. It tackles not just the connection itself, but the headache of managing, like, a dozen different adapters.
Right. Each one is another thing that could fail or get lost.
Yeah.
This aims to consolidate that.
Okay, but playing devil's advocate for a second. Putting so many functions into one box, does that create its own risks? Like, if that box fails, everything goes down, or maybe it's just harder to use with all those options.
That's a fair point, yeah. But usually, devices designed to be central hubs like this are built with pretty robust internal components. And the manufacturers often focus on making the controls user-friendly because it handles so much.
Okay.
Plus, think about the alternative. 5 different adapters, 5 power supplies, all creating heat, all taking up outlets. The benefit of reducing that physical clutter often outweighs the single point of failure risk.
True, true. Fewer things plugged in is always nice.
And honestly, it's often easier to learn one decent interface than trying to troubleshoot interactions between multiple, sometimes cheap converters that might not even like each other. The goal really is simplification.
Got it. So beyond just plugging things in, you mentioned it actually transforms the signal. That sounds like where it gets really powerful.
Exactly. This is where it moves beyond just being a connector adapter. It's about making sure the picture quality is as good as possible, even when the source and display are totally different generations.
Okay, so how does that work? Like, what if the resolutions don't match?
That's a huge issue, right? Maybe your old console outputs 480i that's interlaced, where it draws half the picture lines at a time.
Right, kind of flickery sometimes.
Yeah, but your modern TV wants 1080p progressive scan, all lines drawn at once, much smoother.
Okay.
So this WolfPack converter can actually change the resolution and the refresh rate too. It acts as a scaler.
Steeler. Okay, so it takes that 480i signal and intelligently bumps it up to 1080p for the display.
Exactly, or downscales if needed.
Yeah.
This is crucial for compatibility. It prevents those awful no-signal messages or a picture that's stretched or blurry because the display doesn't know what to do with the input.
Ah, that makes sense. So the scaling directly fixes those common problems, and you said it handles a lot of resolutions.
Oh yeah, the description lists 26 supported input and output resolutions. It's a real resolution powerhouse.
26. Wow, like what? Give me some examples.
Well, it goes from standard definition, like that 480i at 60 you'd get from VCRs or early consoles, all the way up to high-definition progressive signals like 1080p at 50 or 60 hertz. Perfect for modern TVs. And it handles lots of PC resolutions too, 640 by 480, 1024 by 768, even up to 1920 by 1200.
Okay, that's a massive range. That kind of future-proofs your old gear in a way.
It really does extend its useful life. And besides scaling, it has other smart features, like auto detection.
Auto detection, what does that do?
It means it automatically figures out what signal is coming in and what the display needs going out.
Yeah.
You don't have to manually fiddle with settings telling it, I plugged in VGA, or my output is HDMI.
Oh, nice. That sounds like a huge time saver, especially if you're swapping inputs often, like in a meeting room.
Yeah.
Less fumbling.
Definitely less fumbling. And then there are image adjustments.
Ah, so you can tweak the picture. What kind of controls?
Yeah, there are buttons right on the front panel. You can fine-tune things like color saturation, brightness, sharpness, and the contrast ratio.
Okay, that's pretty granular control. Usually you only find that on higher-end displays or processors.
Exactly. It lets you really dial in the picture for your specific screen and what you're watching or playing. Make an old game look vibrant or presentation sharp.
Nice.
And it even has a zoom function. You can zoom the image in or out from -10% to +10%.
Huh. Why would you need that?
Well, imagine you're watching an old movie that's letterboxed on a widescreen display. You could maybe zoom in slightly to fill the screen better without losing too much. Or, in a conference room, maybe make tiny adjustments to fit the projector screen perfectly without physically moving the projector. Little tweaks like that.
Okay, I can see that being handy. Now, one feature you mentioned earlier, the advanced mirror function. Rotating the image 180 degrees, that sounds kind of unusual for a converter.
It does, yeah, but it points to its potential in more professional or specialized setups.
Like where? Where would you flip an image upside down?
Think about digital signage. Sometimes displays are mounted upside down, maybe tucked into a ceiling, or for a specific design aesthetic. But you need the content to show right side up. This function lets you do that without having to re-render the original video file, or maybe in some industrial monitoring situations, or security cameras mounted at odd angles.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense for those niche cases. It's more than just basic connections, then it's getting into display management.
Definitely. And just circling back to audio quickly, we mentioned the 3.5mm embedding and de-embedding, which is great for separate audio systems.
Right.
But there's an important note in the product details. It says if you're converting HDMI with audio, you might need an extra converter, something found in their accessories section.
Oh, okay. Why's that?
Well, HDMI can carry complex multi-channel audio formats like Dolby Digital or DTS. The basic 3.5mm jacks on the WolfPack are likely just for stereo audio. So if you need to pass through or handle those advanced HDMI audio streams, you might need an additional specialized audio extractor or inserter.
Got it. So it handles basic audio, but for complex HDMI audio, check the accessories. That's good to know. Manages expectations.
Exactly. It's about understanding the full picture for your specific setup.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the tech specs. Scaling, connections, mirroring. How does all this translate into like real world benefits? Who really needs a device like this? It sounds pretty powerful, maybe overkill for some.
Well, it might be more than the average person needs if they only have HDMI devices, sure.
Hmm.
But if you look at the bigger picture, it offers a really stable, really universal solution for converting between formats, plus those advanced scaling and mirroring features. It's definitely not just for enthusiasts.
Right.
It has serious practical uses in loads of different professional and even home situations where you've got that mix of old and new gear that needs to work together reliably.
Okay, like what the source material mentioned some examples, didn't it?
Yeah, conference rooms are a big one. Think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
People come in with different laptops, some HDMI, some older VGA, maybe even DVI.
Always a scramble for the right dongle.
Exactly. And hoping it works with the main projector or display. This converter could act as that central hub. Plug everything into it, and it sorts out the signal for the display. The auto detection and scaling we talked about, super valuable there. Saves time, avoids tech glitches during presentations.
Yeah, I can see that being a lifesaver in meetings. What else?
Advertising is another area. You might have digital signs of varying ages and types, maybe some old monitors in a shop window, some new fancy screens in a mall. This ensures your content looks right across all of them. If you design an ad in HD, but it needs to play on an older standard def screen, the scaler makes sure it adapts gracefully without looking weird.
Keeps the message consistent regardless of the screen tech.
Precisely. And even in more critical places, like security systems. You might have older analog cameras mixed with newer digital ones, all feeding into different monitoring stations. This converter can act as that crucial bridge, making sure all those different feeds can be viewed together, maybe on a modern monitor wall. It allows different systems to talk to each other for better overall security.
Wow, okay, so conference rooms, advertising displays, security. It really does sound like a versatile problem solver.
It really is. It feels like a shortcut to making things just work together, you know?
Yeah, bypassing all that frustration of, is this compatible with that?
Mhm.
Or getting overwhelmed by needing 10 different things. It's like a single adaptable solution.
And it respects the gear you already have. It lets you keep using perfectly good, maybe older equipment instead of forcing upgrades just because the plug's changed.
Extends the life of your tech investments. I like that.
Exactly. It's practical, potentially reduces e-waste, and just provides solid utility in a tech world that keeps changing connectors on us.
It reinforces that idea that you don't always need the absolute newest everything to have a setup that works well together.
Right. Sometimes bridging the gap is the smartest move.
Okay, so let's recap this deep dive a bit. The WolfPack Universal Audio and Video and Resolution Converter. It really does seem like a standout piece of kit.
Mm-hmm.
It's this versatile bridge connecting the analog and digital worlds. It handles a whole bunch of connections, HDMI, DVI, VGA, component composite, which is impressive in itself.
Yeah, the connectivity is broad.
But it goes beyond just matching plugs. It offers that crucial signal transformation scaling resolutions up or down, tweaking the image with brightness, contrast, sharpness controls.
Don't forget the zoom function.
Right, the zoom. And that surprising 180-degree mirror function for those specific display setups.
It really packs a lot into one unit. It's designed to make diverse tech play nice together.
Yeah, it seems to simplify complexity, make old gear useful again, and give you a level of control that turns potential headaches into smooth sailing.
It definitely feels like a mature answer to a very common modern tech problem.
So, thinking about all this, it raises a bigger question, doesn't it? In this world where tech evolves so fast, but we often keep using older, reliable gear. I mean, think about vinyl records making a comeback, or specialized industrial machines that last decades.
Yeah, legacy tech is definitely still around.
How essential do you think these kinds of universal converters will be going forward? Are we always going to need these bridges between tech generations?
Yeah.
Or do you think standards will finally converge someday, like a truly universal plug-and-play future for everything AV?
That's the dream, isn't it? But if history is any guide, Think of all the video connectors we've had since color TV first appeared. Betamax versus VHS, SCART, S-video component, VGA, DVI, HDMI, DisplayPort.
Right. Fragmentation seems almost built into tech progress.
It kind of does. So maybe these translators will always have a place.
It makes you wonder, what legacy device are you, the listener, still trying to keep connected? Does this idea of a universal translator click with your own tech challenges?
Yeah, something to mull over. Yeah. Could a device like this actually simplify your setup?
Definitely food for thought about how we manage our tech, past, present, and future.